Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Southern Reads podcast, the podcast where I talk about books and only books and everything book related. Today, I am happy to announce that this is going to be our very first book club reaction and review for the podcast. And the first book that we are going to be covering is How to Be a Boss, A Guide to Conquering Life by Lilly Singh. This backstory with this book, if you have followed my Instagram for a while, you may know the story, but if not, I'll tell the story real quick. And I kind of had made a podcast episode explaining a little bit about this story, but I'll just kind of get the brief version here. I was always a anti-reader. I never liked reading, never really loved reading because school really forcefully forced it upon us to read a book and was like, you need to read this book by this day. They were just forceful about it, which made me not love reading as much as I do now. Well, in 2022, I decided to change that. I wanted to pick up a book for the first time and read it. I thought that there's really no ultimate opportunity of why I can't do it. And so the first book that I decided was this book. Now, I've had this book for had had this book for many years at that point. It was a basically a I think a signed copy, if I'm not mistaken, of the book. The author of the book actually signed it herself, so it is actually a signed copy. I got it, I think, right when the book came out. I just got it because am a huge fan of the author, and I'll talk a little bit more about her here in just a little bit. But this was the first book, and this book actually helped me make me love reading again. So if it wasn't for this book, this podcast wouldn't have been born, and I probably would not be sitting here talking about it. But to give kind of a little backstory and kind of some things about the book as well. The book was released back in 2017. It is actually a self-help guide book. It is not a fiction. It's not a young adult novel. This is a nonfiction memoir of a self-help book. And it's essentially just the author telling and giving some really good life advice. So this book will definitely be a little bit different of how I normally do book intros and kind of book reviews. So this probably will not be a very long podcast. So you can thank me for that. But just a little bit about the author, if you've never heard of Lilly Singh, she was a huge famous YouTuber back in the early 2010s, kind of later 2010s, around 2016, 2017, 2018. She had a very successful YouTube channel called Superwoman. That's probably where you know her from. And she was also a author. She wrote this book. She's come out with another book or two that I've not read, but hopefully at some point we'll read and cover it on the podcast. Uh, but this is kind of the first book that she came out with. Um, I always like to look at the cover and kind of do kind of a cover thing. So the cover is just a simple portrait of her. It's her in a red suit holding a mug that says "World's Best Boss," and the title of the "How to Be a Boss" is actually written in red lettering, and in a yellow circle, it has the "Guide to Conquering Life," which it actually says a guide to surviving life, but surviving is crossed out and has conquering written under it in red handwriting. And the back of the book as it actually has a definition of what boss means, and it means a person who excludes confidence, hustles relentlessly, reaches goals, gets hurt efficiently, and smiles genuinely because he or she has fought through it all and made it out the other side. So that's just kind of a little overview of what the book is. I do have the hardback version of it. I think that there may be a paperback. I'm not quite sure on that. Don't quote me on that. But I do have the hardback version of it. So now what I would really do at this point um would be to just get in the book and talk about it. But the thing with this one is that it's a little different because it's not really plot wise, there's no plot in it. Each chapter is kind of stemmed off of it's actually split up into four parts. There's a Master Your Mind part, Hustle Harder, Make Heads Turn, and Be a Unicorn. Those are the four parts, and in each one of those parts, each chapter kind of plays on is kind of based off of one overall meaning and quote. So this book has, I think, about 33 chapters in it, I assume or believe. Give me 1 second, I can look at it real quick. Because I actually have it. Oh, there's actually 50. Just add maybe about 220 to that. There's 50 chapters in it. I do have the physical books here in hard copy with me, so I'm easily able to look at the book. I will say the hardback version is probably the heaviest book I've ever touched and have actually held. There's actually a lot of you could knock someone out with it. It's very hard and it's very could basically crack someone's skull open. But content-wise for the trigger warnings, there isn't really any huge trigger warnings. There is some language in it, but a lot of the strong language, like the F word, is kind of used in um kind of a one letter. So like there's like effing, get the F out of here, stuff like that, where it's abbreviated, where the whole word's not spelled out. But then there's other mild language in it. So if I wouldn't recommend it to maybe elementary or middle school. Maybe middle school at like 7th or 8th grade would probably be where I would recommend it. But if you want to recommend it to high school and up is probably your best bet. The language in it is not too bad at all. It's what you would normally see in like a PG-13 show or like Law and Order, Criminal Minds, something like that. The shows that are like TV 14, that's kind of the language you'll get in here. It's not too overwhelmingly difficult to follow and understand. There's really just a simple tips and tricks. There is a lot, and I do really like this a lot about the book, is that there is a lot of pictures throughout the whole book. There are actually bullet points. The font in it is very scattered about when it comes to really no particular font. So if you like books that are very eye-popping and eye-coloring, this is I highly suggest this book. Um, so to kind of give my final thoughts and reviews for the book, I loved the book. I loved it. I thought a lot of the advice that she gave in it was very helpful and very meaningful for life. When I first read it, it actually was a lot of good, um, helpful advice that I needed at the time because I was at a point where I was struggling a little bit in life. This book actually gave some really good tips about how to really overcome that. So I highly recommend this book for anyone that's just really looking for really good life advice. If you are, as an adult, feel stuck and don't really know where to go, I highly suggest it. It's not a long read. It's kind of a simple read. There's about 300 pages in it. So, but there's some pages that have very little text to it, and then some are very paragraphy, but it kind of has a diversity in it. There's fonts that are in different colors, there's bullet points, there's underlining, there's all kinds of stuff throughout the book. There's pictures, it has pictures in it, guys. So if you like picture books, this book has it for you. But yeah, I give this book 5 stars. This was my first 5-star read and I highly, highly loved it. I fully suggest it. The book is available wherever you get your books from. I'll put some links to it down below. I got this one at Books a Million, if I'm not mistaken, way, way back. But it's at Barnes and Noble, and I will put some links in the description box of where you can find the book as well, so that if you would like to check the book out for yourself, you can. I'm not gonna put like no trigger warning or like PSA at the beginning of the thing because it really doesn't have any like spoiler things in it. So there's really no spoilers in this episode. Um, because it doesn't really give away plot. It just gives away like tips and tricks, and it's kind of more of like a memoir than a fiction young adult book that will have going on in the future on this podcast. But yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on the book. There's not really much to say about it with it being such a short book. So I would love to hear your thoughts on it as well. I'd love to hear what you thought about the book if you've read it. What are your thoughts? What do you think about it? And other than that, that's kind of all I have for you guys today. Feel free to check out the podcast on the socials. If you want to follow me and follow me on the socials, you can follow me on Instagram and TikTok at southern.reads. You can also find me on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube at Noah's Podcast. And I also have LinkedIn. It's just my first and last name, Noah May, on there, and I'll put all those links down below. I have Goodreads, I have Storygraph, Fable, and Margins if you want to follow me on there to see more of my in-depth reviews and would like to see how I kind of reviewed the book. It's hard to kind of pinpoint how to find me, so if you just go in the description box or the show notes, I will put links to my Goodreads, Storygraph, Fable, Margins, and you can follow me on there if you would like to see what I'm currently reading and see some of my other book reviews before we do the podcast. You're more than welcome to do that. I will put all those links down below. Go to the website noahspodcast.com to learn more about the podcast as well as to keep up to date about what other announcements that I have. And there you'll find links to where the podcast and all my socials are. Feel free to follow or subscribe to the podcast so you get notified of when new episodes like this come out in the future. It's available on all major platforms where you get your podcasts. And other than that, I really appreciate you all for tuning in today's episode. Hope y'all enjoyed it. Y'all have a great rest of your day. Be safe, and I will catch you in the next episode of Southern Reads.